Good morning, how are we all? Thank you for dropping by. Well, now that all the films I made in 2025 are available on YouTube, I thought it would be nice to look back and review the year overall. I've written myself a script for this video, so if I keep looking away, it's because I'm checking my notes so that I don't miss anything I want to talk about. I think first and foremost, I must mention the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 camera, which I bought over a year ago now. I recorded all of my films in 2025 with it, and I know I've said it a few times already, but the camera has been superb. One of the best things about it for me is that it has been so easy to carry around with me, especially when I'm filming walks of several miles. It's so much smaller and lighter than my previous cameras. When I think of all those years filming my walks, lugging around my much heavier Sony camcorders and large tripods with me, this new camera has been an absolute godsend. I love some of the features the Osmo Pocket 3 has too. I especially like the gimbal, where I can always make sure the horizons in the picture are level. So even if I'm filming at a slight angle, I can set the gimbal to make sure the horizons are always level. The active tracking feature is great too. I had a few comments where people thought I had someone filming me as the picture was panning with me as I was walking, but that is the active tracking feature, which literally tracks you as you move. The picture quality is absolutely superb. All of my films from last year were shot in 4K, but compared to the previous year with my 4K Sony camcorder, I still feel the picture quality from the Osmo Pocket 3 has been the best so far. There are a couple of downsides with this camera. Firstly, it's quite fragile, so I've always got to make sure I don't drop it or knock it against anything. Secondly, it's no good in wet weather, so I can't use it if it's raining heavily. Having said that, I always had these same issues with all my Sony camcorders. They were never robust, neither were they waterproof, so in all fairness, I've not lost anything with my new camera. So overall, it's a brilliant piece of kit, and I have no regrets whatsoever buying it. Let's look back at 2025 then, which turned out to be yet another great year of filmmaking. When I was first planning what I wanted to film for 2025, I knew that several times throughout the year I would be travelling down to North Somerset to visit and stay with my mum. And whilst there, I knew I could go out some of those days to make films in places that weren't too far from her. One of those places was the Blackdown Hills. I always knew that at some stage during 2025 I wanted to film the Blackdown Hills. So even if I made no other films that year, the Blackdown Hills was always going to be my main project for 2025. Once I had decided on the Blackdown Hills and had plotted all the routes I was hoping to film, I looked to see where else I might go during the year. Going back to 2024 for a moment, you may remember that that was the year I returned to the Wye Valley and Forest of Dean in which to make films. During that year, a few of the films I made were in places I had lived from my birth to early childhood. So I decided for 2025 I'd like to continue the story of where I'd lived from the latter years of my childhood to my mid-30s, as all of the places in which I had lived during those years were within a short driving distance from where Mum lived. So that's why I ended up filming in Portishead, various parts of Bristol and Weston-super-Mare, as I had lived in all of those places between the ages of 15 to 36. I also knew that I could make films in other parts of Somerset whilst I was in this general area, such as Clevedon, parts of the Mendip Hills, Brent Knoll and Burnham-on-Sea. I had planned to hopefully make all of these films between March and September, which is more or less how it all turned out in the end. But when I looked at my plans again, I hadn't decided where I might go during October, although I knew I would probably be going down to Mum's again that month. Therefore, I had a look at other locations where I might make films. My budget for the year was looking quite good, so I felt I could afford to travel somewhere that was perhaps a bit further away than usual, but somewhere that was still accessible enough from where Mum lived. One of the places I looked at was Cornwall. When I lived in Bristol and North Somerset, I went to Cornwall several times during the late 1980s and throughout the 1990s, and I felt it would be lovely to make some films down there. Unfortunately, bearing in mind I'm now living in Derbyshire, I decided Cornwall was just too far to travel. From my home here in Derbyshire to the Cornish county boundary is around 260 miles, but if I wanted to travel down to Land's End, I'd be looking at around 340 miles. So I felt that even if I stopped at Mum's en route for a day or two, it was just too long a distance all the way there and back again. And looking at the overall travel costs and accommodation in the area, it would have stretched my budget a bit too. I'm not completely ruling out Cornwall though, so maybe one day. So instead for October, I chose an area that was about 200 miles from Derbyshire. So overall, a lot less travelling would be involved than driving down to Cornwall and back. That's when I decided on the New Forest. Like the Blackdown Hills, it was an area in which I'd never previously made any films, and I just thought it would be a lovely place to go for a complete change of scene. I booked 5 nights accommodation in Lyndhurst, which was a village I had been to many years previously, and I knew it would make a good base from where I could make several films in the New Forest. So, what were my favourite films of 2025? From the filming perspective, I enjoyed going out to film all of them. I did particularly enjoy going out to film in the places where I'd once lived, so it was great going back to Portishead, Bristol and Weston-super-Mare and sharing some of my memories I had when I lived in each of those places. I did receive a comment from one viewer saying that I hadn't shown my old house in one of those locations. Well, in each case I had actually done so, but I filmed each house very discreetly. Rather than standing outside each of my old homes and pointing my camera directly at them, in every case I took a sneaky shot of them as I walked past, so that I wouldn't be drawing special attention to them. Bearing in mind there are probably people living in those houses now, I felt it was only right to respect their privacy, especially bearing in mind my videos end up on YouTube. I think I was probably most excited about filming in the New Forest though. As I said, I had been to Lyndhurst many years once before, but I knew that the New Forest was a beautiful area anyway, so even before I travelled down there in October, I was really excited knowing that I would be filming in the New Forest for the very first time. I also very much enjoyed meeting up with 2 other YouTubers last year. Firstly, there was Darren, Somerset Man Walking, when I did some filming in the Mendip Hills in August. Secondly, there was Dave and his lovely Whippet Fiver when I was in the New Forest in October. Each of those 2 meetups were great days for me. I'll always have great memories of them, and it's wonderful to have both those days captured forever in the films I made in both those places. Hopefully, if and when I return to those areas in the future, it will be lovely to have the opportunity to meet up with them again. For all the completed films of 2025 then, my personal favourites are probably my 2 Portishead films. I just felt that the content was particularly good in those 2 productions, and my musical score worked really well. The music was actually a re-recorded version of a song I had originally composed all the way back in 1981, which was the year I started living in Portishead. My absolute favourite film from last year, though, has to be my Wellington Monument film, which was the 3rd of my 8 films I made in the Blackdown Hills. I didn't compose much music for that particular film, but because of its content, I felt that music for the most part wasn't necessary, and the finished film worked really well. Another aspect of last year's films that I was particularly happy with was my music in my Blackdown Hills films. If you saw my quick update that I posted a week before I published all of my Blackdown Hills films, you may recall that I mentioned I had composed a brand new musical score to represent that area. I thought it was quite a catchy tune, which you wouldn't hear straight away, but when you did hear it, I was willing to bet that you would find yourselves humming along with it. Now that all of those films are published, I don't know if any of you actually did hum along with it, but one viewer did say it was a wonderfully catchy tune and would make a great song. Thanks for that, Steve. So, for me, my Blackdown Hills theme, as I call it, has been one of my best pieces of music for quite some time, and I'm very proud to have composed it. Well, I hope you enjoyed my films from 2025 as much as I enjoyed making them. As for my plans for this year, I hope to be posting an update about that sometime next month. In the meantime, however, I will be sharing links to some older content over the next few weeks, which is aimed more at newer subscribers who aren't necessarily aware of the large back catalogue on my YouTube channel. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, all the best, and bye for now.